You're listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show, where wealth is empowering, purpose is crucial, and high vibes are non-negotiable. And now, here's your host, certified business coach and practical woo strategist, Sarah J. Loureiro.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. I'm really excited about this episode because I want to take you behind the scenes of what it really takes to hit over six figures a quarter. And I'm also just excited because I'm on the back end of this. And so I feel like for a really long time in my business, I wanted to challenge myself to be able to hit this specific kind of number. And I'm here and I surpassed that by quite a bit. And I'm just really grateful that I get to be here and I get to share this experience with you. And if anyone's listening to this and if you always wanted to hit like a really different, higher number in your business, and if you've kind of journaled around it and you've really solidified why you wanted it, but it hasn't happened for you yet, I'm going to give you some really, really great tips as to how you can be able to double or triple your income, especially if you're stuck at a specific number. So I'm specifically talking about quarter three of 2022. And it's interesting because when I started off the quarter and when I almost ended the quarter, I was actually on a part-time holiday. So I started off the quarter in July. I was in Canada. I was visiting my family and my friends. I actually also took a week holiday to the west coast of Canada. I'm from Toronto, so I went to British Columbia. I visited Victoria and I visited Vancouver, and it was just really, really incredible. Very grateful that I got to do that. And what I basically promised myself while I was visiting was that I was still going to be working. And so I really wanted to start to experiment with the whole traveling and working at the same time. And I knew that if I could do it then, that I could also do it for my second holiday that I had planned for the summer, which was to go to Portugal and then also to travel a little bit around Europe. Now, a little bit more of a backstory about me. I am a Portuguese Canadian. So I was born and raised in and around Toronto, but I also lived in Portugal as a child, and my parents still spend a lot of time in Portugal. And so I was in Portugal with them. We rented a car and kind of traveled through the country. Also made my way to Italy this year. My husband and I spent our 5th wedding anniversary in Italy, which was really awesome. We went to Milan. We went to Venice. It was really beautiful. Just an amazing experience. I've always wanted to go to Venice. And I think the interesting thing is when I first purchased the flights for this trip to Europe, it was in February of this year. And I remember thinking to myself, this is either the best idea ever or this is the worst idea ever, because I knew I was going to be taking a month and a half to do this trip. I also knew that even if I was going to create a downturn in income during that time, that I was okay with it, because I knew I wanted to go and see my family in Portugal. I knew that I wanted my son to finally go to Portugal and for my family to see my son. So I knew that whatever would happen because of it, I would accept it. It would be fine. But what was interesting is that my income actually went up when I was there. And so it's not necessarily that my income went up because I went to Europe and everyone wanted to work with me because I went to Europe. It's because of specific strategies that I had in my business, which I'll go over. But it was very interesting to me because I hit my biggest quarter in business, surpassed my goals, but I was also working part-time while doing it. And so it's that whole thing where we always think that we have to work more to make more. And that was not the case at all. And I want to break a lot of that down for you and also just inspire you to do something similar and to understand that you can go on holiday and you can go on an extended holiday and still be working and still be making money. Now, I will also confess that when I went to Canada, I went without my son. I went without my husband. My son is 3 years old now, so he was 2.5 when I went back home to Canada. And that was relatively easy to juggle business and seeing friends and traveling. Pretty easy. So if you are someone who, doesn't have kids, maybe doesn't want kids, hasn't had kids yet, or maybe you have older kids, probably going to be pretty simple for you. If you have younger kids like I do, Portugal was a different story. It was a little bit more stressful for me to handle a lot of different things at once. I think obviously the pressure of seeing family so much and running my business and having a toddler who always wanted my attention was really difficult. Also, time differences were difficult. But with all of that being said, I am so glad that I did it. And as long as you're prioritizing your time and just really understanding why you're doing it, I think it's totally, totally doable. So the first thing that I want to say here in terms of how I was able to create this actually goes back to mid-May. And in mid-May, I had been looking for a mastermind to join, a really higher level mastermind for people that wasn't for beginner business owners. I've already made multiple six figures a few different years consistently in my business. So I didn't want to join anything that was going to be too low level. But at the same time, I also didn't want something that was going to be breaking the bank necessarily for me, because I wanted something that was going to be like a sustainable mentorship program that I was going to be in either for 6 months or a year. And I had a friend who was in the specific mastermind and she really, really liked it. I did the research for it, and about mid-May, I kind of like everyone, I'm sure that you've been through this before, I really, really wanted to join it. Of course, I had all of these fears that were holding me back. Like, what if this doesn't work? And it's a year-long mentorship. And, then I have to pay these monthly fees for it. And all of the things that we always hold ourselves back with. But I knew, and this is ultimately the thing that I try to teach the most to people when it comes to money mindset and energetics, is I knew that I could not listen to the area of my brain that was telling me that this might not work. And the fear of what if this doesn't work? Because if I lean into that fear, and if I lean into the whole, oh my goodness, this is probably not going to work, it's never going to work. And I think this is really something that I need to have everyone drill in their heads, is when you're constantly making decisions from a place of, oh my goodness, it might not work. It's not going to work because you are willing to bet against your dreams versus for them. And that is a choice. It's a decision that each and every one of us makes. And I can't stress this enough. I'm literally like bubbling inside as I explain this, because I had that choice in that specific moment. I could either lean into the fear or I could lean into the excitement, and I can actually take a chance on myself and a chance on this new program. And I think a lot of people feel like, okay, well, this is only a me thing. Other people aren't afraid of investing in themselves. I am. And so therefore, if I have the fear, I shouldn't be investing. If I don't have the full belief, I shouldn't be investing. And that couldn't be further from the truth. And I literally sat there mid-May about to get on a call to get into this program. And I was like, you know what? We need to trust and we need to go all in. We need to trust and we need to go all in. And we really need to make this decision from a place of excitement and a place of expansion versus a place of scarcity and fear. And that's exactly what I did. So I made sure that I put my money where my mouth is, and I really walked the talk that I tell everyone else about. And this is the very first mastermind I've ever invested in. And it was honestly so worth it. And so that's what happened mid-May. By the first 30 days in that mastermind, I had already made about, I think, a little bit over $50,000 in sales, which was crazy for me at the time. I was like, oh my goodness, how is this even happening? Right? And then, so by the time July came along for that specific quarter, I already had a lot of the systems in place that they were teaching me. So I already had a lot of the structures and the strategies that they were teaching me, so that once July came along, a lot of that sales income turned into cash income as well. And that's another really helpful thing to think about when you're thinking about advanced business strategy and really bringing your business to the next level. It's usually first the sales come in and then the cash comes in over time. And so I was already prepping myself beforehand. And I think that this is another, once again, very important thing to think about. And this is ultimately why I ended up investing in the mastermind in mid-May and not in mid-June. I knew that by mid-June, I was going to be going to Canada. I already knew that my flight, can't remember if my flight was booked yet, but I knew that was something that I really wanted to do. And so I didn't want to wait around. And I didn't want to wait. And I know that there's so many people who are always like, I'm just going to wait until I come back from holiday, or I'm just going to wait for this specific thing. I knew that by waiting, I was actually limiting my own potential. And I knew that by making that decision then and getting the strategies and getting the support then, right, versus waiting another month, by the time I did go on my holiday, I knew that I'd have a lot of the strategies and processes already in place versus waiting. Could you imagine if I waited? Could you imagine if I waited 1 or 2 months until after I came back from Canada? Then I probably would have made another excuse. Oh, I'm going to go to Portugal for a month and a half, right? I still can't invest in this program. And I would have missed out on this 130K quarter, right? And I would have missed out on really fulfilling my own potential and helping so many clients within that time period and really accelerating my own skills as a coach. And I think that's another really important thing to think about when you're thinking about growing and scaling your business. The more clients that you get in a specific point of time, the more of the exact same work that you really want to be doing, you start to do more consistently. And as you do it more consistently, you become so much more of a pro at it. And that's another thing that I really, really loved about this process, was that I was able to serve my clients on a deeper level, and I was able to see results come in a lot quicker because I was also able to tweak some of my strategies because I had so many people going through my programs at the same time. So I think that's another really, really helpful thing to note. So my point with a lot of this is also the fact that instead of waiting and being like, no, I'm just going to, go on these holidays and not invest in anything. And I hear this so often from so many people. I did the exact opposite. Do you see how that works? And that's also why I was able to do these things part-time. And essentially what ended up happening was I realized what the gaps were in my strategy in my business. And I think for anyone here who's like, really data driven, or maybe you're just a little bit more advanced in your business, I think this is also going to really help you, was I took a look at what I was doing in my business and I realized that I didn't have streamlined strategies. So I was already doing really well, but a lot of it was from kind of doing things in the moment. And when I really started to focus on optimizing one system and really disciplining myself and putting my focus into doing that versus just kind of doing what I felt like, that really allowed me to create a streamlined process that I can also teach to my team so that we could be implementing that and I didn't need to be in the business all of the time. So really focusing and looking at, so if you want to make 6 figures a quarter or even more than that, I would highly suggest that you look at what you're currently doing in your business and asking yourself if any of it is streamlined, if any of it is actually a system. And even if you do have a system, is that the most effective process-oriented system for you that's going to be the easiest for you to implement and be the easiest for your team to implement as well? Because once that happened, once it was the easiest for both me and for my team, then it was, oh, well, I don't actually need to be doing everything all of the time. Okay. Another reason why I was able to hit a 6-figure quarter was because I was focusing more on my volume. But I think it's interesting because I've created that amount of volume in terms of new growth that was coming into my business before. So I've invested in Facebook ads. I've done lead generation strategies, but the difference here was that this new strategy that I was taught was just a lot more effective for my own business. And so, whereas I was trying the same type of volume with other things, this specific strategy that I was being taught was actually getting more results for me than the ones that I had previously done. And so let's say, for example, out of 100 people that would come into my email list, before I might have like 1 or 2 people who were approaching me or, wanting to know more. But now with this strategy, now I have like 5 to 10, let's say, for example. And so that also really helps because then that helps to decrease the amount of people who you actually need to outreach to in your business in order for you to see those results. And so it wasn't necessarily about growing more and approaching more people. It was about making sure that the strategy was actually going to yield the highest results for me. So that was another thing that changed. And once again, changed in that, that energetic investing in myself, saying yes to this new mentorship program, and kind of working through that with the help of my mentors in order to see those results. Another thing that I did really differently, which I found so interesting, is I actually stopped launching completely in the summer. And I kind of giggle at that because I have been constantly launching in my business for a few years now. And I just stopped doing it almost entirely. The reason why I stopped doing it almost entirely is because launching in and of itself actually takes a lot of effort in terms of the content that you're creating. And so you're having to put out a lot of content. You're having to plan a lot of live events and things like that in order to do a really, really great launch for your business. And I decided for myself, once again, it's okay if my income drops, but I'm not going to do launches right now because I knew that I only wanted to be working 2 days a week. So when I was in Portugal, I was working 2 days a week. When I was in Canada, I think I was working 2 to 3 days a week. And I knew that I wanted all of those other days to go to the beach. My town in Portugal is very, very close to the beach. So we were there almost every single day. I knew I needed more time to spend with family because a lot of my family was also on holidays. So I hadn't seen them in a really long time. I also knew that I wanted it to be on holidays. I wanted to explore more areas in Europe. I wanted to explore different areas in Portugal. And so that was the reasoning behind understanding that I wasn't going to be doing more than just like the necessary things in order to convert clients, and obviously also make sure that I was nurturing my clients enough. So out of me converting and nurturing, there wasn't really any time left to focus on big scale launches or events or anything like that. Another thing that I did to really help me make sure that I could do this part-time is I would do my content well in advance. And so I was still posting, and I was posting to my stories all the time because Europe is beautiful, right? Going to Portugal is beautiful. It's like a top tourist destination right now, which is so crazy to me because I grew up there. But posting content was something, or planning it was something that I was doing in advance. So when I came back from Canada and before I went to Portugal, I actually spent a lot of time those 3 weeks in between making sure that I was getting content prepared to be posted while I was in Portugal. It was the same thing before I went to Canada. I made sure that I had a month's worth of content planned out in advance so that I wasn't feeling stressed within the moment, making sure that content was coming out. And I think another really important thing that I did to be able to create over 6 figures in a quarter while still working part-time was I actually stopped talking to any person who was interested in talking to me. So I canceled sales calls. I actually let go of a lot of potential business because I knew at that point and at that stage in my business who usually converts for me, who are the better clients for me, who are the people who usually get the best results, and who are the easiest to work with. And so sometimes when I'd look at application forms for people who wanted to book calls with me, I deny them. And I'd say, you know what, I don't think we're a good fit at this time. Do you want something else from me? And that really helped me to retain my own energy and really ground myself in my energy of worthiness. And I really do feel like helping myself protect my energy and protect my energy from, people who are just kind of looking for free things or looking to pick my brain and things like that really helped me to then go to my other calls with other potential clients and totally rock them, because those were the people who actually wanted to be speaking to. And it was no longer like a numbers game. It was, do I want to talk to this person or not? And I think the really interesting thing about this, how all of this unfolded, was I always really wanted to hit the 6-figure quarter, but more so from like a 6-figure launch, so to speak. I really wanted to have the 6-figure launch. I wanted to kind of see how much I could step into my full potential as a business coach, help more people, and just really be able to do something different is something that is absolutely crazy that I never thought I'd be able to do before. And I was always thinking about it as being a launch and as being something very specific. And I think that this is so interesting when it comes to manifestation is I had the feelings, right? So I was doing the feelings and the embodiment work, and I made the investment based on that energetic practice. And I also put in the work and I did the strategies. But I think that what's really interesting is you manifest what you believe, like your energetic level of what is possible for you, and not necessarily the exact things that you want. And so I did technically get well over a 6-figure launch. It just wasn't necessarily a quote unquote launch with a live event and a challenge or whatever that is. It was just in a different format. And so that I think is really interesting as well, is really becoming in tune with how you want to run your own business and getting mentors who are going to stand by the way that you truly want to do things and not just give you another one of their cookie cutter strategies. And that's something that I'm also super, super grateful for in terms of having made this investment, because I really did feel like I was finally in a place where I wasn't having someone really push something on me. It was something that I really wanted to do. And I brought in my own business expertise, and I really sat hard with, well, how do I want to create this business? What do I want to create with it? And I was able to do that. And I was able to do that in so much more of an easier way than I ever thought possible. So if this inspires you at all, and if you are in a more advanced area of your business, I'm actually going to be releasing something very soon. It's by invitation only, that is really going to help you move your business forward, whether your goal is to hit multiple 6 figures or even get to the 40 to 50K mark. Keep your eyes out or send me a DM about it, and you will be one of the first people to know about what exactly is going to be going down. So this is the story, the strategy and the mindset and everything about, the 130K quarter and how I was able to do that by working part-time, which is so nuts when I think about that and when I say that. But I wanted to also inspire you to know that that's possible for you. And I've listened to other people on the other side of this and always thought to myself, oh man, I would really love to do that in my business. I would really love to get to a new level. I would really love to challenge myself to do something bigger. And I was, even at specific times, I was just like, why can't it happen to me? Right. And it's the whole frustration of, why hasn't this happened for me yet? And if you keep on going at it, and if you keep on making decisions from that place of belief, and also if you keep on investing, and, even if one program that you were in, didn't give you exactly what you need, it does not mean that all programs out there are the same, right? It's not a one size fits all. And I'm really lucky that I finally stepped into a mentorship program where I really did feel really, really supported with it. So hope this inspires you to take your business to the next level. And trust me, I know what it's like to be in your position if you're just like, oh, but this could never happen for me. Or I really want this to happen now. Go ahead and send me a DM at Sarah J. Loureiro on Instagram. So that's Sarah without an H, J Loureiro, and just message me the word mastermind. And I will let you in on exactly what I'm going to be working on, and you'll be one of the first to know. All right. Thank you so much for listening. If you liked this episode, it would mean the world for me if you shared it with a friend or left a 5-star review. And I will catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Uplevel Your Online Business Show. If you enjoy our show and would like the show notes and free goodies about how to grow your online coaching business, head over to sarahjloureiro.com for more information. We hope you'll tune in next time.